Welcome everyone. If you're new to my videos, then I'll quickly explain that I go through the basic stats from last season, do a top 10 temperature check, and then I get into what I calculate as the missed opportunities of the guides. Missed opportunity is based on the absolute value between what the player earned versus what the true player at the predicted rank earned. A quick example would be Connor McDavid. He was ranked number 1 in almost all of the lists, and he earned 132 points. But the true top player from last year was Nikita Kucherov, and he earned 144 points. Therefore, the missed opportunity is 144 minus 132, which equals 12. This is our way of determining which publication came closest to being perfect with their predictions. It's not about their point projections, but rather their projected player rankings. We begin with the basic stats, which were very similar to the 2022-23 season, except that in the 2023-24 season, 924 players played at least one game. That is 80 fewer players. The totals and percentages shown here were very similar between the two seasons. Nothing drastically changed. We now move on to doing a quick check of the projected top 10 from each of the guides and lists. And there were differences. The first difference was an increase in the correct number of predicted players within the true top 10. Even the lowest guides got 5 out of 10, which is good. However, what was not good at all was that hardly any of the guides predicted the right rankings for those top 10 players. Here's where some of you will comment, well, what is the problem with that? They did well to predict by more than 60% who would make the top 10. The top players all come out basically even. It is in the later stages of a draft where it really matters. Here is why it matters. When a friend or expert says that what is unearthed in the late rounds is partially true. There is more opportunity to make gains because other people are making mistakes, but they are incorrect assuming that the players at the top don't make a difference, that it all balances out after 2 or 3 rounds. The NHL's top 10 players last season had a swing of 46 points. That is if everything was perfectly predicted. Imagine how much worse that difference becomes once the guides are wrong in their rankings. This is where the missed opportunities come into play. From our quick example at the beginning of this video, if you were fortunate to have first pick and selected McDavid, then you were going to be down by 12 points to the owner who ended up selecting Kucherov. It did not matter if the McDavid point projection was perfect at 132, higher or lower. Every owner who passed on Kucherov was giving points away to their competitor. It is a lot of points to now recover from. This is especially true if Kucherov was selected much later in the first round, because many more owners would have missed the opportunity to earn those 144 points and instead settled for much less. The table on the left shows the disparity between the NHL's ranked player ranges from last season. If everything were perfectly predicted, it would be very hard to make up a bad selection from the first round. But we know that things aren't perfect. There are going to be missed opportunities everywhere. That is what makes drafts exciting and special. The graph on the right shows how the average missed opportunity was last year as you move deeper and deeper into the rankings. This year in particular seemed to have done a better job with the players ranked between 50 and 100, with an average less than 20 missed opportunity points for the picks in that range. An average of 15 points missed in the top 10 is still high, but better than some other seasons. Here are the guides which did best within the top 10, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and overall. We will show you the tables of numbers over the course of the next few slides. Congratulations to Datsuk to Zetterberg, Dom Lucizen, and Ultimate Pool Preview. Not every guide made the same number of projections, but all of them can be evaluated against what a perfect list would have been for the number of players that they did project rankings for. And we get to the missed opportunity calculations. This is the first of 3 slides. What we see here is a sorted list based on the lowest top 10 missed opportunity scores. The guides on this list started out very well. The various logos represent the championships, titles, belts, which were won last season, including the missed opportunity winners. The numbers 8 and 9 on the left-hand side indicate if the guide was a finalist in those respective battle challenges. A lot of our winners are found on this slide. Clearly, Datsuk to Zetterberg had an amazing season. But why were they so dominant when others on this list had missed opportunity scores which were just as good? My suspicion is that they were able to capitalize on other mistakes and had drafted fewer overprojected players. But that is not a proven conclusion. The orange rectangle highlights the area where the majority of the battle testing fell into. Max drafts would go further, and so would the kumites. The next third of lists had more challenges to overcome. Robert Coho somehow managed to pick well in the 8 and 9 owner battles. Fantasy Hockey Helper's recency settings found a way into the 8 owner finals, and the Fantasy Hockey decision system did the same for the 9 owner fights. Surprisingly, the last set of lists had 2 guides which encountered some success. Canadian Sand Goggles did not score well in the missed opportunity measurement, and yet they made it to the 8 and 9 owner final battles, ending in 7th place for both. The other guide, Fantasy Puck, won the shadow boxing box pool where the draft order didn't matter. What did matter was how high a player was ranked. That was the selection of each of the boxes. Before guessing that all of those entrants made many mistakes, perhaps the configuration of the individual boxes was a factor. It is these kind of results which led me to start the 8 and 9 owner battle testing. Before we end this video, I want to show you what I'm exploring and working on for the future. Start by asking yourselves, where do the projections reside? You might be scratching your head and wondering what I'm talking about. To assist, I've created a few pictures to help understand my question. The orange, red, yellow, and blue quadrants represent projections which were over or under projections in terms of points and rank. Explanations for the data of each quadrant is on the picture. The next picture has a very thin purple line. These are perfect point projections, but the rank was not perfect. The third pic has a very thin green line, which represents a perfect rank forecast, but the point projections were off. The picture to the right represents the perfect projection, both in rank and points. It's a very small gray area, no pun intended. Ideally, we want all or as many as possible of the projections to land in this very, very tiny perfect point. Returning to the posed question, on average, where do you think the projections land? We illustrate 3 sets of data from the 23-24 season. The top 50 projections, that's the graph on the left, the top 200, which is on the right, and at the middle bottom, a graph which represents all the projections made. Did you expect to see that more than 50% of the projections were over projections in points? How about that closer to 60% were over projections in rank? Here is one specific set of data from a guide. The reality is that the other lists mostly look like this. The exact points are different, but the overall scatter is similar. You can kind of see an outlined image of a goalie stick where the projections are concentrated. This work is still in its infancy, and it will take me a lot of time to analyze, but when I do finish it, I will get a video out to you. In the meantime, the guides for the new season have started to be published. It's going to be a busy time from now to the start of the season. Do your research, and we wish you good luck in your pools.